Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Business Essentials. This is Pauline Chung. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing for the San Mateo Area Chamber of Commerce. This morning, we wanted to welcome Jennifer Hancox, and she's the General Manager and Chief Information Officer of Appelblom Jewelry Company, and they're located downtown San Mateo. She's also a new San Mateo Area Chamber of Commerce board member. She's a board member with the San Francisco GIA Alumni Association, and she's also chairperson for BRN3. So welcome, Jennifer. We're going to turn this over to you, and we ask that people use the chat function for questions during your presentation, and we should have a few minutes for a Q&A at the end. So all yours, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Cheryl, did you want to say anything? All righty, go ahead.
Okay, welcome everybody. Jewelry and insurance, not the most exciting, except to jewelry people and insurance people, but hopefully you'll get some great information that you can then spread out to the general public, or perhaps even insure some of your own jewelry if you haven't already. So we'll go through some slides. Please feel free to put the questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer anything, or you can even reach me afterwards. So, okay. So a lot of people love their jewelry and they're not sure if they should buy insurance for their jewelry. So let's take a look. So why is it even important or interesting, and how do you know if your jewelry is worth insuring? So we'll go through some of these different questions about why, and then we'll talk about appraisals, and we will also talk a little bit about some questions to ask for your insurance. So you insure your house and your car, which is something everybody knows they have to do. They insure the car for accidents, personal liability, etc. They insure the house in case of fire, theft, flood, everything you can possibly think of. But why not the jewelry? A lot of people, I had somebody actually say this to me, well, my jewelry is not that valuable. So sorry, hit the wrong one. My jewelry is not that valuable. Should I insure it anyways? Well, you have a lot of emotional attachment to jewelry. Some of your jewelry adds up in dollars and cents, so I'll go through that in a minute. But a lot of jewelry accumulated over a lifetime can add up to both money and emotion. So looking at this, to protect the pieces you wear every day, engagement rings and wedding bands, yes. Most people start out with that as insuring their jewelry. Even if they've inherited jewelry, they're not necessarily insuring it until they get engaged and they have that one big engagement ring, that big stone, and that's when they start insuring jewelry. Diamond stud earrings, probably stack rings, right hand rings, push presents, etc. They're just as valuable, just as sentimental, but a lot of times they're given as gifts. And people don't think to insure a gift unless it's something really large or it's their grandmother's. Everyday necklaces, something like this, it's not super expensive. They're cultured pearls, they're freshwater pearls, couple $100, but it adds up. Valuable pieces in a safe or safety deposit box. Your mother's engagement ring, importance. Lots of people do that. Grandma's brooch, you can see a picture here of a brooch that we have. People looking at that, it's not worth a lot for replacement, but it has sentimental value. Maybe it's valuable as well. Jade necklaces, is it real? What's it worth? There's a lot of fake stuff out there, or not good quality, mixed in with high quality stuff. And then those random mystery pieces at the bottom, it's a shoebox. You find it in an envelope in grandma or grandpa's desk. Is it an Antiques Roadshow item that gets put on the air because it's from Henry V? Or is it a garage sale item that she just left and went with the great sweater? So why not? So, oops, sorry, I keep doing that. Not that valuable. A few inexpensive earrings, some fun gold rings that you bought on vacation, a couple of different gold chains to hold some of the pendants that you wear on a regular basis. Surprisingly, those can add up to thousands of dollars. You don't realize it because you're buying a little bit at a time, a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. And then when you put it all in the jewelry box, it's really thousands of dollars. And this is something that we see on the jewelry side, as opposed to insurance, like Roger or Michael Glazier or whoever's doing your insurance for you, is they're looking at it as a value, whereas we're looking at it as accumulated product. People come in with a shoebox of somebody that's passed on, or they finally get convinced to do insurance, and they're stunned by how much these little pieces actually add up to. So that's the money part of it. Jewelry often marks an occasion for you, and some of these are gifts. Some of them you buy for yourself. Graduation from high school or college, your first big bonus, your first big promotion, something to mark a special birthday, 30, 40, 50, or even a gift given by someone special, an ex-boyfriend sometimes, but it's still a pretty piece of jewelry that you like. You tell somebody else that you bought it for yourself, but that's the emotion. So if any of these things are lost or stolen, the emotion surrounding it is pretty big. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much emotion is attached to your stuff or when it gets lost or stolen. So fun facts about, or maybe not so fun, as I was putting this up, 75% of engagement rings that are lost within the first year of marriage are lost on the honeymoon. And this is always kind of a stunning statistic, but it gets put out pretty often by a couple of different jewelry insurers that we work with. Because it's not because of forgetfulness, but a lot of people get their ring, they put it on, it's a little loose, they don't want to part with it because it's an engagement ring, it's a little loose, it wiggles around. Some people go on the wedding diet, they lose a few pounds, and then they go on honeymoon. And they don't want to put the ring in the safe in the hotel because they think it's not safe, but then they'll wear their loose ring to go swimming and lose it in the ocean. Or skiing, something to that effect. So, fun fact about that. The other fun fact, not so fun, is 4 out of 10 men will lose their wedding bands in their lifetime, mostly through some sort of sport or leisure activity, at home, doing work around the house, or different yard work. We had some lady find her wedding ring in the garden that she was tilling up that she had lost 15 years ago when they did the garden the last time. So, hey. And at work, a lot of times it's either misplaced, they take it off if they're doing some sort of heavy duty mechanical work, or it's left inside gloves or uniforms for those types of jobs that have it. Okay, so on to appraisals. Oops. So, oops. There we go. So what is a jewelry appraisal? So this is one of those things that it sounds like a bigger, scarier document than it is, but it's an important document. So an appraisal basically describes the item, its relative quality, assigns a value to it. So for a ring, it would say something along the lines of 14 karat gold, yellow gold ring with a 2 carat emerald, blah, blah, blah. Different things about how much it weighs, 2 grams, any markings on the inside, it says Cartier, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what that is. So some jewelry stores, when you purchase something, they'll give you an appraisal, but a lot of insurance companies will ask you for an outside appraisal. We give appraisals right off the bat. So that's something you have so you can insure that item. And then if you need to do something different after the fact, then you can do it, but your item will still have the document to help appraise it. Yeah. Oops, there we go. So different types of appraisals, and this is a question we get asked a lot. So most of what we do at Appelblom is insurance or market value appraisals. So basically you come in with your piece of jewelry, and we do the evaluation of it, and we give you an appraisal that details all of that information. If it was lost or stolen and you need to replace it, or damaged and you need to replace it. So that is market value, retail value, insurance value is what it's called. So some insurance companies want an appraisal for items above a certain value. I know that there's a different insurance company we use. They can use detailed receipts for anything that's $2,000 and below. Other insurance company want $5,000 and above to have a formal appraisal. So that's something to look at when you're looking for insurance. We can talk about that later, but that's what an appraisal is. An estate appraisal is if you are looking, we don't do these very often, but this is something that the buyer, you're looking at this definition. It's legislated by your state or your local municipality. A buyer and seller would agree to this price without a forced sale. So sometimes it's a parent or grandparent has passed away and people are evaluating everything in the house, in the estate, for a price. So this is something we can do. It's not something that most people require, and it's usually your lawyer, your estate person is recommending you get this, and you know that. So you come into a jewelry store or your appraisal company and ask for that specifically. 90% of the ones that we do are insurance or market value. Appraisals, fun facts also about this. Most appraisals are brought into the jewelry store. Our jewelry store are more than 15 years old. Many are over 20 years old. People get engaged, they get their appraisal for their ring, and then they never appraise it again. And then they get with their insurance agent and ask about updating their policies, and they realize how old some things are. Usually there's only one copy, no electronic copy, maybe a photograph, some handwritten stuff on the document, but appraisal should be updated about every 10 years. And I put about because I had a customer come in with a different insurance company that wanted it done every 8 years. So that's something to ask your insurance company how often they want it done. Appraisals can be expensive if you're doing them all at the same time, but if you're it's a rolling one every year with all of your 10 or 20 pieces, it weighs out. Many appraisals are often lacking in current terminology relating to stone's origins, color, clarity. So if you inherit something from your grandparents and the document is 30 or 40 years old, some of the grading specifications that you get from the GIA, the Gemological Institute of America, the American Gem Society, things like that, weren't put in place at the time. They're constantly updating the terminology to make everything a little more clear, a little more specific. So that's why it's also good to update it periodically. The other thing about appraisals is a lot of appraisals have outdated pricing for the metals. So we all know the gold prices go up and down, but we don't necessarily associate that it's with the jewelry. So the gold price in 1990 was $383 an ounce. The gold price today, or yesterday when I put this in, was $1,700 an ounce, almost $1,800 an ounce. So that gold chain that you bought that looks like the one up here in figure 8 weighs about 8 grams, cost you about $500 in 1990. Maybe if you had it appraised, a lot of people don't get gold chains appraised. Now it retails for about $2,200, possibly more, depending on where it's coming from. So updating your appraisals is important. Again, if something's lost or stolen or damaged, you want, a current value for it. So next step, what if you don't have an appraisal? Most jewelry stores have an appraiser that can do this for you. Call, check to make sure they're reputable, that they have credentials. Prices range from about $150 to $300 per piece, depending on who's doing it, the credentials, if you're going to a formal company that does appraisals and appraisals only. A lot of places will give you a little bit of a discount if you're doing more than one piece. What if your jewelry isn't expensive enough for appraisal? So again, talk to your insurance company, see the kind of information that you need. Try and put together a document that contains details about your various jewelry pieces, even if it's a spreadsheet with some photos attached. You can do it on Google Docs, you can do it on any of the other shared file services. And you'll need some sort of document and photo to show possession when filing an insurance claim. Some jewelers will do this service for you. We do this. I know a bunch of other jewelers that do it, and they call it like a letter of evaluation. It basically says that, you know, we're an accredited jewelry store. You know, this is what we believe these items to be priced at, because a lot of people have, you know, just a couple of rings, a couple of this, a couple of that, but when it gets lost or stolen, it's a little devastating. Okay, so insurance. So different types of insurance. What type of insurance should you use? Most people have a renter's or homeowner's policy. And with that, you can ask questions of your insurance person. Does it cover jewelry? Is it part of the regular policy, or do you need a rider? Riders tend to be for higher value items, but could be, you know, for anything depending on which company you're working with. How much is covered under the regular policy? Up to $1,000, $2,000. Is that for one piece of jewelry or for the total of all of your jewelry? Good to know if you have a fire and everything's lost. You know, you would hate to know after the fact that it only covered up to $1,000 of the jewelry. So what documents are required to insure each piece? Some will accept detailed receipts, like we talked about before, for lower dollar amounts, and others require a formal appraisal for everything. It's important to double check on this. I recently had a theft in my apartment, and they came in through a window and took all of the jewelry that I had, even some of my fake jewelry that looked real. And I didn't ask some of these good questions, and so I wasn't able to get reimbursed for some of the jewelry that I had. And I also didn't have pictures of a lot of the jewelry that I had. My graduation ring that my grandfather gave me, there's a picture of me from far away looking at it, but you can't see a picture of the ring. So these are things that are important. I know that lots of insurance companies nowadays have some sort of app that you can take pictures of your items, and it loads directly into, you know, your policy, or, you know, into the software that's used by the insurance company, and then they can talk about that. Going forward, what type of insurance company should you use? So a lot of times you have renters and homeowners insurance, which is great. If you can tie everything together, that helps. You don't have to think about it too much. There's also jewelry only insurance company, jewelry specific, where that's all they do. They don't work with cars or homes or boats or anything like that. So sometimes these can be good. Many of these can be found online. Asking some of the same questions about coverage, documentation, replacement. Most of the time you can quickly create an account online within a few minutes. And these are great because if you don't have homeowners or renters insurance, or just starting out with insurance on your jewelry, you acquired a new piece, you want to get it insured as soon as possible, you know it's valuable, and you don't have the time or the bandwidth to get your regular insurance up to date, you can do something like this. We work with Jewelers Mutual. They insure the store, but you can also get insurance rather quickly through them. If you want to buy the engagement ring and then don't want to walk out the door without insurance, it can be done in 10 minutes. I do know that if you're insuring something in the San Mateo zip code, and it's say a $10,000 ring, it's only about $60 for the entire year. So, you know, if you're insuring multiple pieces, would it be better to go with homeowners insurance, renters insurance, because that's a larger group? Or would you want to do something with jewelers, like a jewelry specific jewelry company? So it's individual for you, but those are the options that are out there. To insure or not to insure? Okay. So we believe the answer is yes, insure your jewelry, because when you come in, again, the insurance people will see it one way, the jewelers will see it another way, but either way you see it, when people come into the jewelry store with a loss or a claim on their insurance, or even if they don't have insurance, they're always a little devastated that something's been damaged, something's been lost or stolen, and that's really upsetting. So as you're getting it repaired or replaced, having insurance will give you a little bit of peace of mind. And again, it doesn't always have to be the giant engagement ring that's $10,000 or $20,000. You know, if you have a fire and you lose everything, sometimes the comfort of having those pieces of jewelry to make you feel better, or, you know, theft, loss, whatever it is, you know, the insurance helps you replace that item. You can replace things that are damaged as well, but usually it's the loss that's the most upsetting. Let's see, I'm moving along pretty quick. I think I'm nervous. I have 4 minutes left. So I have some time for questions. I see here, if the customer got an appraisal from a jeweler at the time of purchase, can they later go back to the original jeweler and ask for an update? Absolutely. This is something that we do. Our jewelry store does it. I know several other of my friends that work in jewelry stores do it. It's possible some don't, but most will do that for you, depending on how soon you've had it done. If it was just a year, they might do it complimentary. If you're changing addresses or something easy like that, some might charge a small, you know, reevaluation fee. And is it cheaper than getting a brand new appraisal from scratch? A brand new appraisal from scratch, I think if you bought it at a jewelry store that's no longer in business, and you can take your existing appraisal to a new store or a new appraisal and get it done from scratch, is what you would probably need to do. But the update should be pretty much a little bit cheaper, if not free, depending on which jewelry store you go to and your relationship with them. Okay. Other questions? Let's see. I can stop sharing screen, go to just me. Hi, everyone. I'm back.
Jennifer, could I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
Can you speak just a moment about the difference in grading regarding appraisals for like GIA versus other grading indicators?
Sure. So the GIA is an educational body, and what they do, it's the Gemological Institute of America, and they created the system for grading gems, and they standardized it because before there were so many different levels, different companies doing it. So they tried to make it consistent across the globe, which now it is. There's a lot of other grading agencies that do it. So what they do is they grade the gem based on their criteria, and they give you a certificate that says, you know, we stand behind this. We stand behind that this diamond is a G color and an SI1 in clarity. So when you purchase a ring or anything else, earrings, etc., that have a certificate of grading, that is great to go with the appraisal. Most gems that have a certificate from a better quality grading agency will value higher because it's been graded. We know exactly what this is. This ruby comes from, you know, Myanmar or Burma. This emerald comes from Zambia. It's a little less expensive than an emerald that comes from Colombia. And this is how it's graded on the certificate. Does that answer your question, David?
Yeah, I guess I was just looking for some more guidance regarding the insurance companies, and like if you have GIA certificates, everybody is familiar with that rating standard. Whereas if it's a different rating standard, I'm wondering if they would question that standard and say, well, we don't recognize that standard. And so maybe this isn't a G, it's an F or a J or something else, because these standards do change, or,
The standards, I would say, are they don't change. Their maybe a broader interpretation. I would say if you're working with some companies that aren't as strict, but the GIA is well known across the US. The EGL, which is the European Gemological Laboratories, they are a little more flexible on their color and grading, but they're used widely across Europe and the Middle East. So there's a couple of like higher end 2 or 3 that I would definitely use or recommend. But as an insurance company, I would recognize those 2 or 3 and not just say it's only GIA.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Questions? I insure my ring and earrings I recently bought from you. Yes, definitely. We should insure those.
Thank you.
Should the jeweler always provide an estimate that the owner can use for insurance purposes? Should this be done at the sale time? Can we request it? Well, as a jeweler, as the jewelry store, if you are buying something from me, I'll give you a detailed receipt. We do provide complimentary appraisals for things that are over a certain dollar amount. And we do that at the time of sale. Can we request it later? If you get something that's a $500 pair of earrings and we didn't give you a complimentary appraisal, I'm happy to give it to you if it's something you want to insure. I'm all for people having appraisals and documentation and insuring their stuff. So I'm more motivated to give it to you if you just ask for it. Can it be difficult to get the information later? Sometimes, we use computers here so we can print out everything that you have. Some smaller shops, everything's handwritten. So it's a little tricky sometimes. Jennifer, when I was on safari in Tanzania, they had jewelry from Tanzanite. Is that a real thing or more of a marketing thing? It is a real thing, 100%. In Tanzania, they have a small area, it's a large area, but small comparative to other gem mining areas. And they found a particular type of stone called zoisite. And and when it comes out of the ground, it could be kind of like a brownish green color, but a lot of times it's this really gorgeous purple periwinkle color, and it can be from like a slightly lighter color to a deeper color. The Tanzanite only comes from one place in the world. This particular form of zoisite only comes from there, and when it's mined out, it will be gone completely. So it is, in fact, a real thing.